Hi! Alright, so Happy New Year everybody and welcome to the Collette Knits podcast. It is Sunday, February 3rd, and I'm recording this from my home where I live in Toronto, Canada. And yeah, this is my third episode. So far I've done 2 episodes and they were really great. I'm hoping I'll get a little bit more comfortable with this as I go. But yeah, so far thanks for all the support and all my subscribers and all the comments that you guys leave. That's amazing. Keep commenting, keep liking my videos, and yeah, we can really get this thing rolling. So, 2019. I don't really have much knitting goals other than I just want to knit more this year. One of my big knitting goals is I want to knit 1 pair of socks every month for the year. So I found the Fish Lips Kiss Heel pattern for the heel pattern, and I really like that pattern. I had actually bought it a couple months ago and felt very intimidated by the 16-page instructions on how to do just a heel. But as I got a little bit more comfortable with the idea and hearing other people and how they have done their Fish Lips Kiss Heel, and other podcasters and people saying it's really not that bad, we just it's a lot of information and all you need is 2 pages and the rest is just really helpful, really informative information on tracing your foot and doing a cardboard cutout so you know where your heel goes. So I did that and I carried that around in my purse for January. So here's my foot. And everybody in my family, feet will probably be traced now. So I'll have to remember to put everybody's names on their feet so that I know whose feet are whose. Yeah, so with that being said, I made my first socks for the year. I started them in January. My boyfriend and I went on a trip to Nova Scotia to visit his family, which was really nice. And we had a lot of car time and a lot of family time. It's so beautiful where we go. We can go close to the ocean if we want to go see the ocean. We hit up the Loop in Halifax, and I got some really nice yarn. I probably don't need to get much yarn right now. I have a lot, but I did get a really nice tweedy gray sock yarn that I think would be really good for heels and toes and cuffs, because this gray has little tweed flecks of blue, green, orange, red, and it would go good with anything. So I got that at the Loop in Halifax. It's a really nice little yarn store. But yeah, we had a really nice time and we had a lot of car time. So we drove, he drove out with the dog before Christmas and spent Christmas with his family. And then I flew out a couple days later after Christmas because we do a big Christmas thing here with my family, and I worked right up until Christmas. So on the flight, I had tons of knitting planned. I thought I would do hats and really put a dent in my turtle dove sweater. I was sick and throwing up the whole flight. Not sure why. Probably just the motion sickness or something. But I was like, there's no way I could knit that whole flight. So that was pretty awful, but thankfully it's a really short flight. But once I got there, I had lots of time to knit. So when we drove out, so the whole time pretty much, I knit on my turtle dove sweater. I really hoped I'd get it done, but I didn't yet because once January hit, I figured I just needed to really focus on those socks so I could actually get them finished in the month of January. But here's my turtle dove sweater. So this is knit out of Woolfolk Luft in the a light bluey kind of gray color, and it's called L3. Woolfolk Luft. It's a beautiful color. If I was gonna knit this again, I might want to make it in the dark gray, almost black. Or I also really like the mustard gold color. That's a really nice one. maybe I would make that one. But I don't think I'll knit this sweater again in this yarn. It's beautiful yarn, but I think it'll be super, super warm. So, you know, I think maybe next time I'll knit it out of another yarn if I make this sweater again. So far, I really like it. I am at the point now where I should be splitting for the hem, but I decided to make my sweater longer. So I went back, ripped out the hem, and lengthened the length a bit more on the body, and then soon I'll be splitting for the hem. That's really good. It's because it's such a thick yarn, it's kind of a bulky, it goes pretty fast. So knitting the hem took me one night. So to rip back the hem, it was much better than leaving it and just dealing with it, because I'd rather wear something that's perfect than somewhat perfect. So that was good. Yeah, so I got a lot of knitting done on that sweater during our trip, and I also started and then finished right before January 31st my Cozy Knitter Advent socks. You can see. So I used the Fish Lips Kiss Heel for this. And I don't really know, this is my first Fish Lips Kiss Heel, but I really, really like it. It took me one day of on and off knitting to make one heel, and then make a mistake and rip back and knit both heels over again, perfectly fine, which seems to be a theme in my knitting. I seem to knit, rip back, knit again, which is I'm sure what a lot of people do. But when I knit it the second time, at least I know it'll be somewhat perfect, hopefully. Now, what the funny thing about these socks is it was my first time trying cuff down, 2 at a time socks. So you can see for till about here, I was knitting these 2 at a time on Magic Loop, and I really, really liked doing the 2 at a time on Magic Loop, but my laddering was really bad, which you won't notice when it's on my foot, and I'm probably the only one that notices it, but that's okay. So I really enjoyed knitting that way, because and these are the 2018 Advent socks by the Cozy Knitter, Christina, who, by the way, I saw at the Toronto Knitters Guild meeting, and I wanted to say hi, but totally just chickened out and just smiled and then kept petting yarn that was for sale. So, you know, I'll get the courage to say hi to other people who I've met or who I watch podcasts and feel like I know, but you know, haven't said anything to yet. So they came in little balls, little 50-gram balls each. So they were perfect to do 2 at a time. And this is how much I have left, which is probably going to be future shorty socks or Advent socks or other scrappy socks. I don't know, but I'm really happy with this because they can maybe go into my Cozy Memories blanket or be used for scrappy socks in the future. I can probably get a full second pair of shorter socks with them. So that'd be really cool. So I knit these, the 2 at a time cuff down up until here, and then I changed them to 9-inch circulars each, having 2 9-inch circulars at a time. And I really enjoyed that. It took a little bit getting used to, but I really enjoyed that too. It's a little tough on your fingers. I find it kind of cramps up my hands a bit. So I just did that for my commute, and it was the perfect amount of knitting for knitting that way. And then when I got to the heel, I did this on Magic Loop, and then the rest of the foot I did on 9-inch circulars till the toe. So I really enjoyed that, and I will be using the Fish Lips Kiss Heel for my February socks when I get to the heel part. So far, my February socks are like this, and I totally forget what yarn they are. They're just a 4-ply, like a Regia, but I don't think it's Regia. It's some other company, but I really like them, and they're coming up kind of a messy stripe. Even this yellow is like really buttery, and So I really like those, and these are going to be for my sister. So that's a really nice sock too. And I think I'll finish them by the end of this month because I have some days off and vacation time that I'm really excited to be knitting for, so that will be nice. So yeah, I'm really excited. Those are my sock whips right now. Future sock plans for 2019. Keep knitting socks. Always have a sock on the needles. They're perfect for my commute because I go downtown. It's about 45 minutes to an hour on the subway and the bus and everything, so that's perfect, and just to have in my purse for drives. So yeah, I'm really happy with the socks. And they also fit. The Fish Lips Kiss Heel is probably the best fit sock I've ever made. Now I would not say I'm an expert sock knitter at all. I'd say I'm really beginner. I'll show you a sock that I made last year. Also, this was using all the needles I used, the 9-inch circular, the magic loop needles, everything on these socks was with a US 2.25 needle. I never really knew when I started knitting what size sock needle was appropriate. I would just go into a store and say, I want to try knitting, and buy the sock needle that the person recommended. Somewhere in there, I ended up knitting on 2.75 needle for socks, which is fine if you have, I don't know, maybe if you're a different type of knitter or you're doing a different weight sock. But I did that last year and ended up with a Hermione's Everyday sock for a giant. So there's nothing wrong with this sock. It's just that I don't like the gauge. It does not fit me. It flies right off my feet, and I have like a size 9 foot. Even my dad, who has bigger feet, they don't really fit him that well either. They're just really loose and super stretchy. Really, I mean, they're like a sleeve. Now there is one person in my family that these kind of fit like a slipper in a way. He said he would take these socks. But I think he felt bad for me because I told him about my sock woes. So he's like, well, I'll wear them. And then I never knit the second one. So here's what I'm thinking. Do I knit the second sock on a gauge that I don't like? Or, because I have become a 1 sock pair a month knitter, do I rip this all out and knit a second sock? Sorry, do I rip it all out and knit 2 new socks on the proper gauge, proper needle, but for a man-sized foot? So maybe like a, 70-something stitch count. I don't know. It kind of pains me to knit out a whole sock, but I think in the end I'll be much happier, kind of the same way I was much happier with my turtle dove to rip back on the hem, and some other whips I have to rip back instead. So what do you guys think? Tell me in the comments below, what would you do? Knit another giant sock for somebody who might wear it out of pity, or rip it all out and just make a new sock? I don't know. Another finished object. I just finished this morning. This is another thing that I knit and knit and knit and knit and unknit and reknit and reknit and reknit because I just couldn't figure it out. Or I just wasn't happy with a couple of the stitches. So this is, and by the end, I finished it 2 nights ago and it was totally fine, except for I could see a couple areas where there was a couple holes where you have to do like a fancy kind of cable stitch. And there were just too many holes, so I wasn't happy with that. So last night I ripped it back. Well, let me just show you. So this is the Talus hat. I think it's said as Talus. And I actually don't know the designer name. Let me pull it up. I do know that she's a Canadian designer, and I found her on Ravelry. And this is knit out of Brooklyn Tweed Shelter. And you'll see it has little mountains, little mountain peaks. So this is a beautiful hat. I'm sorry, I'm just pulling up Ravelry here to see who it's by. This is a beautiful hat, and I was so happy making it. It was definitely a knit at home, not on the subway hat, which was fine. But don't watch it when you're watching, you know, True Detective Season 3, or that really intense episode in Season 3 of Game of Thrones. If you watched it, you'll know it. We've always called it The Red Wedding, but that's not actually what the episode's called. My mom's watching and trying to catch up with Game of Thrones with my boyfriend and I. We're up to date on all the episodes. But she's trying to catch up, but every time we turn the TV on, she sleeps. So it's been more so us watching it and then retelling her what happens, which is fine too. Alright, so this is the Talus hat by Caitlin Rosum. And she is a Canadian designer, I believe. And I don't know if you can see that, but it's so beautiful. The mountain peaks are so nice. So last night when I ripped back, so you have your ribbing here, and then you're going to do some seed stitch. And then right up here, she explains how to do this fancy raised leaning stitch here. And that was very new to me, and I did watch a couple YouTube videos and I figured it out. She also explains it, but it's I definitely learned by having someone show you how to do it, so thank God for YouTube. And yeah, once you get to the decreases, they go really quick. And yeah, I'm just really happy with this hat. I was really excited about it, and last night I ripped back to here. So between last night and this morning, I knit all of this. But because I had re-knit these 14 rows like 20 times it seemed like, I was a pro. So when my mom and boyfriend asked for hats, or I more so said, "Can I make you a hat?" They were obviously saying yes. They liked it too. So they want hats now, and I feel like I can just whip these off the needles maybe. I still won't do it on the subway because it does include charts and lots of, I like to cross off the rows and wipe away the chart as I come to it, so I'll still do that. But yeah, I'm really happy with this hat. And this is my first time knitting with Brooklyn Tweed Shelter, and I really like it. And at the time, I bought 2 of these skeins of yarn in this color, and it only took 1 skein. And this is in Barn Owl. So my mom's gonna get probably the same color. And today I hit up the Knit Cafe in Toronto, where they sell lots of Brooklyn Tweed, and I picked up soot. So my boyfriend will probably get one in soot. Now, the reason I wanted this done for today is because I went to a fiber show, I guess. I thought it's really small. There was only like a couple booths, and there were farmers there with their yarn, some yarn, not a lot of yarn, but some yarn, mostly fleece and bats of fiber for spinning and weaving and all that stuff. And it was called Landmade, and that was here downtown, and I found out about that through the Toronto Knitters Guild. They had a little event on their Facebook where they were advertising it. So I went, and it was really cool. But I went knowing that I had just finished this hat, and it's super close to the Knit Cafe, so I might have to just hit up the Knit Cafe and pick up some more Brooklyn Tweed, which I did. But at the Landmade, I went and picked up some yarn from Lickety Split Fiber Farm. And one thing I really liked about this whole thing with Landmade was it's all Ontario local fiberists and all this stuff. Farmers, so, and lots of natural dyed yarn. All of it pretty much was. If there was any colorful yarn, it was naturally dyed, which was very cool. So I got to touch a lot of different things. This alpaca yarn is beautiful. There were other vendors that I really like their yarn, but this one really just spoke to me. It's so soft and squishy, and I probably could make this hat out of this yarn. This alpaca might be a little bit soft, but it would be great for someone who thinks like that the wool might be too scratchy. Even though I don't feel like this wool is too scratchy, I really enjoy it. So Lickety Split Fiber Farm, they are from, I think they're from just outside of Hamilton. They're milled in Ontario. I was just looking up where they are from because the lady told me, she gave me her business card and with her phone number on it, and she said, lambing season is coming up soon, so come on by if you want to take a look. Yes, I want to go to lambing season. I want to go to their farm and see all the lambs. So I was so excited. So when I got home, I was like, guess what? We can go and call up the lady at Lickety Split Fiber Farm and see if they are available for us to come and take a look at some lambs. So that's pretty exciting. So they're in Binbrook, Ontario, which I believe is just outside of Hamilton, or in Hamilton, somewhere around there, which is about an hour and 20 minutes away. So that's great. So I got alpaca yarn, and I like that they have this. This is from the Alpaca Stunnin', I guess, which is really cool. So I like that they have the little picture of who it's from, who I'm using, that I know. I really like that a lot of farms do that and fiber artists do that, because you really get a connection to where you're buying from, especially when you're buying local. It's really nice. So this is just some wool yarn. This would also make a beautiful talus hat. And this is the yarn from Cinder and Ella, who are twin lambs, which is so cute. I love it. So I'm really excited about that. So yeah, that's really exciting. So what next? Oh. So part of my getting into the new year, I decided to do what a lot of other podcasters and people have been talking about, and that is to start a calendar, planner, whatever, for my life, for my knitting, for my goals. And I got the Strict Me planner, which I'm really excited about. So this kind of goes through like lots of lists. So tons of lists on here, tons of charts. You know, you have your whole week ahead of you. There's your whole week. And then you can put in reminders or what's important or goals. So there's so much room to write in here for someone like me who forgets to write, especially. If you were a super duper list writer, you might want a little bit more room. So there's a whole big section at the back for more room for lists. Some little dot paper. So I ended up ordering this from, I tried to find it kind of near the end of the year, and it was a little tough to find, but I found it through this website here, Mrs. Babs, and I was really happy with it, and it came pretty fast. And I also caved and bought the little knitting stickers, so maybe, you know, I can put in my calendar, like a sock sticker for like work on your sock. I really do like it. So in the last week, what I did when I put my heels on my socks, like I penciled that in. I was like, put heels on your January socks, because that is how much I'm going to make lists of. Lists for bills and payments and payday and car payments, phone payments, everything. So tons of lists. So I'm going to be organized. And what I really like is at the end of the year or the beginning of the next year, I like to look back at my calendars or my planners and see what I did do that year. Usually I stop writing in a calendar or a planner midway through the year. So if I can actually stick with this all year, I think it will be really great. So I'm excited for that. So I got that, which is very exciting. Yes, I'm excited. Another thing, I have a lot of whips that I am taking from 2018 and carrying them into 2019. I also have a lot of knitting things that things I want to knit. I really want to make a Find Your Fade shawl. I want to do Second Avenue wrap, the Winslow sweater I've talked about and haven't cast on, even though I said I would by now. One thing though that I got for my Winslow sweater that I don't think is in here, I splurged and I got Signature Needle Arts size US 8, which is what I'll be using for the sweater because I swatched with that earlier and that's the size of a knitter I was. That's what my gauge was, sorry. With a little bit of, you can't see it, but Collette Knits engraved on there, which is kind of cool. So I actually used these for the turtle dove sweater for the hem. When I did do the hem, part of the hem, the whole hem, and then rip back the hem. I used those because you have to go down on needle size for the turtle dove, so that would have been a size 8, a US size 8. So I used that, and I really, really liked the Signature Needle Arts, which is a problem because I have created a monster for myself because I love them, and they are not cheap. They are worth it, but they are not cheap. So, yeah, I don't know. I will have to, maybe when it's a super special project, or if I really think I need it, or I really don't have the needles, maybe then I'll go and splurge on some Signature Needle Arts, or just tell all my friends and families that, hey, that's where you can get me a gift card to, because that would be great. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. Working with the proper needles makes all the difference on the project. Sorry, someone woke up from his nap because his brother's barking, so he's gonna join him. Okay. So what else? So I really want to finish up on all these whips. I have a lot of them, but I don't think I'll show them until I've worked on them. I don't want to show you guys anything that I haven't put a stitch in for that while, so yeah, I'll bring them up when I've done them. A couple of things like the Christmas socks I showed you last time I podcasted, those striped ones, those I haven't touched since because I got busy with life, and they don't count for starting and finishing a pair of socks by the end of the month. So yeah, those are on hold until maybe I finish a sock before the end of the month, and then I'll work on those a bit. But in the meantime, I have started, I signed up for, at the time, Knit Fent, the Helen Stewart thing that she does every year. This is the first time I joined it. So you get a couple patterns, things like 5 patterns throughout, like right before Christmas there, throughout the month of December, November, December, that are like smaller projects like accessories, socks or hats, cowls, and like a big project in there, which for this one it was a shawl. I think I might have actually shown you guys this, but I got a Lizzie Ann Yarns Advent set this year. So I'm using all her yarn for this, and this was, I'm doing it in order, so day 1. So you knit this with a piece of fingering weight yarn, and it's optional whether you want to use a strand of mohair or not, and I did, and I actually put it in this, which is called a yarnet, because I'm a little worried about my wild mohair just being free in my project bag. And I don't want to know what mohair does when it's free in your project bag, considering yarn that all my yarn always gets tangled. So I don't want to know what mohair looks like when it's tangled, because I've heard it's not pretty. So the yarnet works. I got it at the Knitter's Frolic one year, but it's kind of awesome because I had been trying to order one. I wanted to buy one online, but just thought, you know what, I've never seen this in person before. Maybe I'll wait till I see one in person. And sure enough, a booth at the Knitter's Frolic a couple years ago had one that they're trying to get out of their store. And so the Frolic was a great place to bring them. So when I saw it on a high shelf, I was like, that is a yarnet and I need it. So what you do is, comes like this with your little stand. This little stand can like fit in a cup holder, or apparently, I haven't tried it. Oh, maybe it's actually if you take it off. Oh, yeah, that fits in a cup holder. Cool. But this piece is optional to buy, and I bought it because I can just put my notions in it, and then it gives it a base for if it was sitting on the coffee table or something. Then your yarn goes in there with screw your lid on. So this absolutely takes up a ton of space in a project bag, and you would need a bigger project bag if that was your style, which I have. This is a bigger project bag for now. For the size of this teeny little baby shawl of the 8 rows that I've knit, this fits perfectly. And this is in a chicken boots bag, which I love. It's so nice. Look at the cute little sleeping foxes. Such a beautiful bag. I really like that. And I really like that it's kind of peekaboo windows. Yeah. So what I've done is put the yarn that I've wound up. So this is day 1. And the reason I know that is because with every yarn, they had put day 1. So I got a lot of advent calendars this year. Like a crazy amount, and I probably won't show them until I'm knitting with them because it's a little excessive, really, the amount of mini skeins that I have. So I won't show them till I knit them because I'm trying not to get ahead of myself with these mini skeins because I'm running out of places to store the mini skeins because I like to kind of store them together, which means I need to really start knitting on them like way faster than I am, or just maybe stop buying them is really the answer. I know that's the answer. Just hold your horses, stop buying them for a little while, but they're so cute. Look how cute they are. Okay, so I have a box of the Lizzie Ann yarn ones. See, like they write their number, the day number right on them. So when I'm ready to do the shawl and I'm ready to go to the next day number, I just pull out that day, wind it up, put it in a little baggy ball baggy. That's weird. Yeah. And then there we go, knit away. So I don't think I actually told you what the shawl is yet that I'm knitting, but it is the Dust of Snow Wrap. That's what it's called. And this is the second ever Helen Stewart pattern I have ever knit. Maybe the first Helen Stewart pattern to complete, because I have another one that is a whip that I have not completed, even though I started it. So it's a beautiful shawl. You don't have to use it with an advent set. You could do it with one color, 2 colors, like 1, 2, 3 big skeins of yarn. I don't even know how many yards it is, but it's beautiful. And I'm sure everyone's heard of it. But that's it. It's so pretty. And the idea of putting mohair together, I had never knit with mohair before. And the mohair I'm using, because I know the mohair can get a little bit pricey, so I went with a more affordable option for me, considering I am someone who has never knit with mohair. Don't know if I'll like knitting with mohair. I got Sugar Bush, Drizzle, and this isn't the color I'm using, but the color I'm using is a really nice like white color. I don't know where my second ball is, but I have a lot of this one to get through before I get to the second one. It's like a light gray. I think it's great to do that kind of neutral before, or that kind of neutral with a bunch of mini skeins that are going to be colorful, but because I'm using the mini skeins all from the same dyer and set, they'll be colorful, but like have some sort of harmony because it's with the same dyer. So she's using the same method, they're using the same method. It's great. I'm excited. Also, Lizzie Ann Yarns is a Canadian small dyer. I do believe it's a mother and daughter. And I have been to their booth before at the Toronto Knitters Frolic. And they are in a couple yarn stores in Toronto, like Creative Yarns here in Scarborough. So I've seen their yarn a lot, and I've always liked it. So when they had their advent calendar set, that was a price that I thought was reasonable for all the hard work that goes into creating a yarn advent calendar set, because I can only imagine it's not easy dyeing all those mini skeins, wrapping them up individually, because that's another thing. Every single one of these advent calendars I got, everybody either put them in tissue paper or had them in little baggies with little, and Lizzie Ann Yarns did this, and so did all the other ones I got. You had little chocolate goodies or a stitch marker and a little bag of tea. Like, the amount of thought that goes into this, and the sales and the listings for these usually go up somewhere in the summer or fall. So they are working on this for a long time for us to open every day before Christmas or whenever you want to do it. I think it'd be really cool, and I did do this. I did the Get Your Yarn Wishes Granted, and I put together a mini skein set for someone else, for 2 people actually, with like old scrap, not old, and I shouldn't say scrap, but leftover yarn, or you know, like, just, they told me what weight they wanted, fingering weight, whether 4-ply, single ply, any ply, don't care, into little balls, wrap them up individually, and sent those off onto their new owners. And those people opened up their, you know, Fiber Friend made advent calendar, and I got some too that were beautiful that I'll put into my Cozy Memories blanket and stuff. But that's a really good way to do it if buying a mini skein advent calendar isn't in your budget, or if you don't need to bring in 12 to 24 more mini skeins to go in your already overflowing collection of mini skeins, like me. Yeah. So next year I'll probably do the friend one, or maybe just get my button gear and knit some more. That's the other thing I really liked about these socks. Same idea as the mini skeins, just the idea with this one was you knit 1 or 2 stripes a day, and then you have it's a 24 advent stripe. So I didn't actually get through the whole, obviously my whole sock would have been much longer if I had done the whole 24 advent stripe, but I didn't, which I was okay with, because I can do another little sock with it. But same idea, like, you know, knit a couple stripes a day, there you go, you'll have some socks. This was, for me, opening up the mini skein advents were so much fun for me in December, because I was crazy busy at work, just like I'm sure everybody else was, but so crazy I didn't have time to knit. My hands were aching by the end of the day. I'm not sure if I told you guys this already, but I'm a dog groomer, and I love dogs, and I love working at my job, and everybody needs their dogs groomed before Christmas, and I want to groom everybody's dogs before Christmas. So I am double, triple booked, working 6 days a week, and my goodness, by the end of the day, I was exhausted and I could not pick up knitting needles. But if I got to open up a little package and just hold the yarn and like touch it, it made me feel so connected still to the knitting. So that was really nice. My mom and my boyfriend made a joke of just wrapping all my yarn and giving me 1 a day of wrapped yarn that was already in my stash. And you know what? That probably would have worked too. I could have probably just went to my stash, touched everything I own, and had just as much happiness as opening up mini skeins. But you know what? I'm so happy with these mini skeins. And you know what? While I'm talking about them, I don't know if I'll show you guys, but one other thing I got. Some of the care that goes into these is amazing. I had who did I get it from? So the other ones I got, I'll just tell you guys who I had. I also got Allison Barnes Yarn mini skein collection for her advent calendar one, and hers came with mini skeins, 24 mini skeins, and a full skein of yarn at the end called Sugar Cookie. And it's beautiful. Hers were individually packed so nicely with the numbers on every single day, and chocolate, tape measure, teas. It's just beautiful, like gorgeous. The amount of thought that goes into it, because I'm just tearing them open. I couldn't even hold myself together. Like, I was peeking, I was just ripping them open. Is it a little excessive that I got more than one? Yes. Am I so excited? Yes. And you know what? Maybe I shouldn't feel so much shame about my knitting purchases, because knitting is one thing, but being a yarn collector is a whole other thing. And I am a yarn collector. Oh, I just realized. The box that's holding the iPad up has yarn in it. Okay. I will show you guys a couple more, and then I might have to wiggle you a little bit. Oh, this is the Lizzie Ann Yarns one. Amazing, so beautiful. Now I'm gonna have to re-box everything after, but some of the colors are just gorgeous. And there was single ply, and actually maybe there wasn't single ply, but there were lots of different types of weights. That's the other thing. A lot of these dyers are trying out different weights to see in different colorways, and it's a really fun way too for these dyers to experiment for the year ahead. So I know Allison Barnes Yarn, since the mini skein advent that she did, I know that in her shop updates she has said that like she's putting some of those colors in her shop because she got to experiment with colors and all that fun stuff. So it's really cool. And now I think I'm just gonna hold you because I have nowhere to put you. I'm really sorry if I'm making you sick and you're throwing up on a plane like I was at Christmas because you have motion sickness now because of me. Really sorry, but that's okay. So the other one I did was Bunny and Toot, who is also in Canada. And I have a huge soft spot in my heart for her because she was my fiber share partner a couple fiber shares ago. Oh, you don't want to look up there. Woo! You'll fall on a nice squishy pile of yarn, if anything. Okay, give me a second here. Let me organize these mini skeins. I told you, they're unruly, they're wild. They're taking over all the minis. Okay. The rest of my family is in the other room. They must think I'm crazy, but they should know by now that I am, so no surprise there, right? I hope this is even recording. If not, I'll do it all over again and be way better prepared. Okay, I hope you don't fall, but you might. Okay, so the other one I got was Bunny and Toot, who's Danielle, and hers was really cool because she is a charm maker. She does cute little clay charms, and this was her, I think, she's new at dyeing yarn, so she's beginning to dye yarn, and she's doing great. And this was really fun for her because it was a good chance to try dyeing yarn and getting good with that and getting creative with it. So hers was mini skeins and charms. I'll show you a couple charms because other ones are in project bags and they are hiding in places. The thing I really liked about hers was more like, her charms weren't really Santa and Christmassy, they were very wintry. So I like that because I'm not really a Santa fan. No offense to all those Santa fans out there, but Santa can only really come around in like November, December. Snowmen, they can go all winter long. Snowflakes, polar bears, penguins. I'm more of a winter animal kind of girl than a Santa present fan. No offense, I just lost some Santa lovers out there. Here's a sugar plum from Bunny and Toot. And look at that. Guys, she hand makes this. Talk about your hands hurting after work. Like, oh, poor me, my fingers hurt after I hand scissor a dog. I'm imagining her fingers are pretty sore after working with these tiny, teeny little details. He has a carrot nose. It's so cute, I just want to bite it off. Look how cute that is. So these are all Bunny and Toot. And I'm putting them into a little charm holder that she also added in her package. Little candy stripe candy here, which makes me want one because it totally looks real. And this is really cool because I've had one of these sitting in my Etsy shop forever that I haven't got because I just didn't yet. So that's awesome. It's like a little globe of sparkles. So those are my Bunny and Toot bag. There were a couple others, but they are also in other project bags because, like I said, lots of whips. Now, for the yarn, which is why you're here. Bunny and Toot yarn. So these are all single ply, and I think these would make really cool hats, like stripy hats. Add a stripe of these to a regular, like, solid color hat. I don't know. I'm excited. These are all different. Like, every one of the dyers that I got, I mean, there are so many dyers out there, and they're all doing something different, which is awesome. So this one was really exciting. I was really excited for that. And I'm also, like, so excited that Danielle is doing so well with her Bunny and Toot business and her new adventures at yarn dyeing. Oh, look at that one. Oh, it's so pretty. And everything was individually packed with numbers on it. Little card notes to tell you what all the colors were. Like, so thoughtful in everything that went into this. Okay, so the last one I got, and there is a last one, so I guess that's 4, which is a lot. But let's stop yarn shaming myself, okay? New goal for 2019. No yarn shaming. But I am on a yarn diet. Until the Knitter's Frolic, I'm on a yarn diet. These ones are from Earl Grey Fiber Co. And these were all so beautiful as well. Different bases, trying out different yarn dyeing goodies. Now this box came with, this one was only a 12-day one, but it came with for Christmas Day, a full skein, which is so cute. This is her Let It Snow colorway and her Darjeeling sock. And it came with a pattern for this, for a sock pattern with this yarn, to do with this yarn, which is cool. I don't know if I'll do that pattern or if I'll do something else. And, oh my gosh, this one was, like, packaged so unbelievably. Cards. Beautifully, like beautiful written card. My name written on it, like, just all the touchy-feelies in it, right? The yarn's there, and she's got little things like anything in blue colored wrapping, you can open at any time. Anything in the other wrapping color, open like every day leading up till Christmas. So some things that were in the blue wrapping, and I might actually be forgetting some stuff here, so I'm sorry if I am. But the her pin, which is great, that can go on a bag. And the maker behind Earl Grey Fiber has a podcast, and I will remember it soon because I forget it right now. And a candle, a wax and wool candle with the name, it was a tea name, it was really cute. Was the tea name Earl Grey as well? Maybe, but a beautiful, beautiful smelling candle, wonderful, gorgeous. little sucre miniature charm. I've never had a sucre miniature charm, but I've heard people rave about them. So I'm gonna go under the table and open it. So hopefully you don't hear all the crinkling. That little baby. So it's a little cup with a yarn ball in it. Sparkle yarn ball. What? Just, you know, sip your little tea charm mug. So that was exciting. And there was teas in this. I feel like there were other things in it, but I don't remember. And you know what? Next year, if I do knit all my minis, by the time all the listings come up this year, 2019, for more mini skeins, if I knit all my minis, because I probably won't, I will actually take photos and show you guys photos, because I'm just telling you about the beautiful stuff with no photos to back it up. But out there somewhere there are photos and such beautiful stuff. And I was going to tell you the name of Earl Grey Fiber Co.'s podcast on YouTube, but my station is now covered in mini skeins. Somewhere under here is a phone. Oh, there it is. It had about, I don't know, like 24 times 2, 48 mini skeins on it. A lot of mini skeins. Okay. And that's not even what's in the bins behind me. I'm looking for the ladies from so sorry. Okay, I can't think of it right now, but I'll put it below in a link. Is that what I do? Or I could find it. I feel like such a dummy about it. Speaking of which, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I watch a lot of knitting podcasts and videos. So if there's any that you like that you want to recommend to me, please write it below in the comments, because I love them. Another thing I wanted to say is in episode, I think 1, I had said about the knitting loft here in Toronto, that is Toronto's newest knitting store. I had said it was owned by Maria, but it is owned by more than just Maria, but the rest of some women in her family, and they are amazing. I believe there's 4 owners, and they're pretty awesome. So if you guys don't follow their Instagram, you should, because they have some really great pictures of finished products, and they do a knitting night every Sunday, and I really, really want to go sometime, but I haven't made it out there yet, but eventually I will. So I just wanted to correct myself on that one. And okay, think I found it. 2 Rad Chicks and Their Yarn is their knitting podcast. So Earl Grey Fiber Co. and her friend, who is from, I think, Shuffle Truffle something. They have a podcast. They're great. And when I actually got my box, because it was from the US, I had said to her on Instagram, like, oh my god, it came, it's beautiful. And she was like, oh, now I can finally breathe, because I was really worried with the Canada Post strike that was happening that it wouldn't make it to you in time for Christmas, but it did. And I told her, I said, even if it didn't, I would have opened them every day in January, and that would have been just as awesome. And actually, that's what we should do. We should make Advent boxes for after the holidays, because that's when people really need the squishy yarn pick-me-up, which is why I knit these in January when I needed a squishy pick-me-up. Something bright. I'll do the snow stuff later, like in the summer I'm going to want, I don't know, something else bright. Also, while I'm talking about the pick-me-up and the bright colors, I'll just show you guys real quick some Scrumptious Pearl yarn that I had gotten right before Christmas. That was her Christmas colorways, part of her Christmas update. And it's so untraditionally Christmas that I love it. Feliz, get it? Navidad in her BFL. Look how, like, it's pink and coral and green and gray and green. It's really nice. So that's her Christmas, one of her Christmas ones, which is such a fun yarn. So eventually I'll make some more stripy socks. This one is the Nutcracker Ball in her Stripe Me Up colorway. I'm really digging these golds and blues right now. And I'm also really digging light pink. So I'm excited for that. Light pink for somebody's heels and toes. Afterthought. Heels, maybe? No, probably not. Fish lips kiss heels? Yes, definitely. Okay, I've rambled enough. I think I'm going to let you guys go, and please comment below all the goodness. Let me know if there's anything I should do differently. I welcome constructive criticism or critiques. If you don't like me, you can probably turn it off, because really I'm only going to change so much. This is just the way I do it. And a lot of babbling. Really, I have nobody to talk about yarn with. Oh, I also want to mention with this hat, I had like a tiny bit of yarn left. So you can totally knit this hat with one ball of Brooklyn Tweed Shelter. However, I did go down a needle size to get gauge. So depending on your gauge, you might actually not make it the whole ball, but you probably can. Anyway, I was telling my family I was winning Yarn Chicken, and they all looked at me like I had 4 heads, and I thought, I really need to make knitting friends because they understand what Yarn Chicken is. It's when you're knitting and you're fighting with your yarn because you don't know if you're going to finish the project or finish the yarn first. So it's a real problem. And sometimes when I play Yarn Chicken, I knit faster because I think I'll win. But that doesn't make you win. It just gives you drop stitches, actually, so be careful when you play Yarn Chicken. So, you know, I really realized today I need to meet some new knitters, or any knitters, really, because I love my virtual friends who are knitters. That's amazing, and I'm so happy that we have all these platforms to, like, communicate on and talk to on, and they're so good at enabling me, because this is how I got this, all this yarny goodness right here. Is from Instagram and enablers. But yeah, you know, I need to make some yarn friends, I think, because nobody in my house knits, and they all think it's funny when I say things like Yarn Chicken and don't get it. So yeah, so leave comments below, and you can follow me at Collette Knits on Instagram, and if you want to follow my dog grooming Instagram, you can too. That's Collette Dog Grooming? Collette Grooming? I think. There is a little link to my other profile on my Collette Knits profile. And that's where I am on Ravelry. And I will probably not do much show notes. Maybe I'll just shout out the people I talk about. That'd be cool. But other than that, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed, and happy knitting. See you later.